Welcome, in front of me is a Samsung Galaxy A31, and today I'll go over unboxing along with a brief overview of the device. So let's start off by popping it open and seeing what's in the box. Apart from a flimsy cardboard right here, that made a lot of noise. Get some paperwork, I assume. Yep, paperwork, and that's about it, nothing else in here. So just grab that, drop it to the side, then get the phone itself. As you can see, now I will mention that the phone has been already set up. We'll go back to it soon. Then inside of it we got a really cheap looking headphones. They almost look like they've been straight out of the dollar store. And that's about it. Now they're headphone jack based, as you can see. So I assume the phone has a headphone jack, which I'll look soon. Then we got the cable itself. You can see type A to type C. Then we get the charger. Now this is a also really unremarkable charger. It's a 15 watt, max of 15 watts. And then also we have the SIM eject tool right in here. So I just dropped both of these back in here. And the paperwork, so I have a little bit more space. And also let's pop this off. There we go. So there we go, that's the phone. Now as you can see, it's already set up. So let's unlock it, and the first thing that you can see is probably, well, the display obviously. Now this is a 6.4 inch display, so it's a fairly big one with a resolution of 1080 by 2400, and it's a Super AMOLED display. Obviously it's Samsung. Comes with an 84.9% screen to body ratio and 411 pixels per inch. So those are the main specifications of the display. Now also at the front of the display you have a 20 megapixel wide sensor that shoots at 1080p 30 frames. If you're wondering, it's a selfie cam. And also, while I was saying, we can look under, and there is the headphone jack. So you don't need any kind of adapter for the type C to headphone. And also, while we're on the subject of cameras, we can flip it back over and get a good look at the quad camera setup. So the main pixel shooter is a 48 megapixel wide sensor. Then we got a 8 megapixel ultra wide, 5 megapixel macro, and 5 megapixel depth sensor. And all that does, well, not much for video quality, at least in terms of resolution. And you can only shoot at 1080p, it's 30 frames, so there is not even a 60 frame option. Now I will also mention that while I'm kind of talking down to the device, or about the device, it is a fairly budget one. It costs roughly $200, so maybe I'm not showing the greatest light on it, but the device, for the price that it costs, I would say it's a decent device. I do really like Samsung operating systems and their devices, so keep that in mind, that it is a budget device. Now I just came out from a different unboxing of a P40 Pro Plus, which is a super overpriced device, but hey, I did the cameras correctly at least, so that's why I'm kind of maybe sour about the low resolution and low frame rate on the cameras here. But in other words, it's, I would say, probably a respectable camera. We're gonna snap a couple photos. I won't be bothering with the video. You can mess around with that yourself. Now going back, before we actually start the camera test, I'll finish up the specifications of it. So it has a couple variants. It's a either 4 or 6 gigabyte version, RAM version, with a Helios P65. And also in terms of built-in storage, you have option between 64 and 128 gigs. Now the 64, which is the base, like lowest version, only comes with a 4 gigabyte RAM, while the 128 has the 4 and 6 gigabyte RAM versions. Now If you're wondering which one you should get, I would probably say go for more than 4 if you can afford it. If not, well, then stick with the one that you can. But the more RAM, I would say, the better. Storage can be expanded via SD card, so you can later on, if you start running out, just buy an SD card, slap it in there, and expand your storage by double, triple, or quadruple, depending on how big of a storage you will get. Apart from that, the device comes with a 5000 milliamp hour battery, and well, not too great of a charging, only 15 watt fast charging, if you can even call that fast. So it is fairly slow, I would say, compared to every other standard nowadays. So the charger is probably, I would say, the weakest part of this, even in the budget price range. I'd really like to see a little bit of a better charger. And outside of that, the device comes in several different colors. So the one that we have here looks like it's the blue one, I assume. Let's see, where's the box? So it's more precisely called a Prism Crashed Blue. Now all of their phones has the same name, so all of them are Prism Crashed, and you have option between black, blue, red, and white. So I expect they will all look roughly the same in terms of the design. As you can see, the light is kind of reflecting and making a little bit more than just blue color here, but if you put it in a different angle, you can see that it's primarily blue, just depending on what angle you hold it at. You can see there is this weird kind of shaping here with different kind of texture, I would say. Well, the texture is just a glass or plastic smooth, but you have weird lines in this part, and while this is just different shades. It's kind of hard to show those off, but yeah. So I assume all of them will be the same, just different colors. And yeah, let's get our little prop in here. There we go, there's the nice shark, the banded shark. And we can snap a couple photos just to see how well it does with the camera. So I know that there's a macro lens. I'm not sure if I have to enable it somehow. There we go, macro. So I want to see how well it does when you get it really up close. So it's already losing focus. So right about here, looks like that's basically the optimal place. Let's quickly look at how that came out. So it did okay. It isn't necessarily mind-blowing, especially in this area. As you can see, the red color starts to really blend together. It doesn't really look like that in actuality. Just as an example, let me quickly set that to the side and bring my own device and see how my phone will do against it, which I assume might be a little bit better. So just as a just to say, this is the Mate 20 Pro. So let's see how this goes. So this is not even the closest I can get, but you can already see the massive difference in the quality of it. And also, if you look up there, there is a little bit more detail in it. You can see some bumps in it, and it doesn't really look like this kind of blurry mess. So you can get a comparison of how it could look like. Now, honestly, when it comes down to color accuracy, I would say neither my device or this one has it correct. On here, the red is just way too bright and vibrant, while on mine is the exact opposite. It's more washed out. But actually, let's try to capture a couple auto photos without using a macro lens and see how it does in this term. Let's also capture maybe an ultra wide. Okay, let's see how those came out. So this is the ultra wide, and I don't think it captured the focus on it. I think it's actually the focus on the monitor, not on the prop. Let's try it again. Can't really set a focus right here. Let's see that maybe this will come out better. Now obviously ultra wide is most certainly not designed for taking such a close photos. It's more of an open area, so I'm just trying to see how it comes out in this case, so you can see how it looks like here and how it does on the photo. But the ultra wide isn't coming out too well, at least not how it's supposed to, so I'm not even going to count that in. So I believe this was the macro, at least looks like it, and then this was the standard one. So you can see the standard one a little bit on the roughly the same kind of quality in it, just bigger, I think bigger resolution of this photo, but other than that the quality of it is really similar. Again, both of the lenses I would say struggled with the red color. As you can see in both areas it is way oversaturated, and here it loses a little bit more detail, I would say, while adding making it a little bit less saturated, but it's still too much of it. Yeah, so that would be the camera test. Now I can also pop the selfie one so you can see how for instance hair and stuff like that look like on it. So let's do that. So let's get a look. So there is not much detail in this, I would say. As you can see, the hair starts looking really blurry and loses a lot of the detail. But for instance, as you can see, the camera, as long as you don't zoom in super close, it looks okay. The resolution of it isn't necessarily the greatest, but as you can see, it does have a lot of detail in it in the zoomed out version. Once you start like looking up close, you will see that it starts suffering. But probably the primary thing is it doesn't really do any kind of like bokeh, crappy bokeh effect in here, so it doesn't look like my hair is blurry in the back and then sharp in the front, so that's good. So yeah, now apart from that, we can also look at the visual aspect of this device. So we have on the left side, we have the SIM tray, I believe. Yep, it's a SIM tray, and it looks like it's one of those wide ones, I think. Yep, there we go. So we have space for one SD card and two different SIM cards, so it's dual SIM. And that's about it on this side. Then on the right side, we have the volume rockers, power key, and that's it. Then at the bottom, obviously the headphone jack, Type-C charging port, microphone along with the speaker, and at the top just a microphone for the loudspeaker, and that's about it. At the back you already seen it, not much going on here, just a quadruple camera along with a flash and just a little bit of a bump going on with the camera, as you can see. So yeah, probably if you don't want your phone wobbling, I assume you will need to have a case. As you can see, the wobble here is present, which is to be expected, honestly. It's not as bad as I would expect it, but it's still there, so if you don't like it, probably a case will be a good option for you. And yeah, so this would most likely finish up the overview of the device. And to conclude it, for $200, I would say this is a fairly decent device. It doesn't excel in anything. It's a budget phone, so it's all around a decent device, well, without actually succeeding at anything specifically. Does okay photos, as you've seen. Works okay. I haven't really seen it struggle with opening stuff and lagging, any kind of sorts of stuff like that. Haven't tried gaming on it really, but you can be sure that there will be videos with games running on this on our channel, so if you want to look at that, you can search for it and you should most certainly find something. And apart from that, the display is nice. It's an AMOLED display, which I am always happy to see, and the device is really slim, also lightweight. It doesn't weigh as much as a brick. The quality isn't necessarily premium feeling, but then the price tag isn't premium either, so I'm not expecting anything of that sort. But if you're wondering if this is the device for you, I would say it's a decent all-around budget device. And if you're not looking for something that will be doing, I don't know, some massive performance heavy tasks, or for instance, I don't know, capture DSLR picture quality, then this phone should be just good enough. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and thanks for watching.